at the stage right now where we're teaching, essentially reteaching the historical account. Also, to jump on the bandwagon of terms like deconstructing flannelgrams. Hey, welcome. I am so excited that you're here with us today for this week at Church 520. Yes. So it's been a minute, but we're back. So anyway, we'll get right to it. What did we cover this week?
Samuel and David. Saul and David. Why did I say Samuel?
Because we're in Samuel. First
Yes.
Samuel.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We've been in Samuel for many weeks.
Months.
I say weeks. Well, you know, that is something that when studying to become a leader or whatever, it's like, how do these guys take months to just be in one book? It doesn't make any sense to me. And now that I'm doing it, I totally understand
A lot to get through.
how it can take so long to cover things. And honestly, I mean, we're at the stage right now where we're teaching, essentially reteaching the historical account. Also, to jump on the bandwagon of terms like deconstructing flannelgrams.
Yeah. That's been happening.
Doing that so that we can just look at some characters in history and just see how God worked through them and towards them, and also how that applies to today.
Right.
Or if it doesn't apply to today.
Also right.
Because sometimes it do not.
Sometimes I do not.
Like there are many things where I don't think I'm going to get swallowed by a fish. You know, or
Fingers crossed.
or go on a boat for like a year with some animals.
Yeah.
I did see a meme though that was like a super huge lion. It was like, man, I went on this cruise. It wasn't a great cruise, but it had a great buffet. It had 2 of everything.
That's funny.
So
That's funny.
Anyway. So this week at Church 520, we were in 1 Samuel talking about David and Saul. We're getting towards the end of the interactions with David and Saul.
Yeah.
Right? He's already spared him twice, where he cut his robe, and then the next time he took his water bottle and a spear. Right? And kind of said, hey, I could have had you, but I didn't.
Right, and I also didn't sin in the process.
Right. And they kind of parted on amicable terms the last time we looked. The second time that David spared him, they parted on amicable terms, like, hey, I'm not going to chase you anymore, and
you do you, I'll do me.
You realize that I'm not coming after you by all of my actions. Like, yeah. So
Plot twist.
then we get to this week, and we're in 1 Samuel 27.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning of the verses, we see that David gets a little stirring in his feelers, which is interesting, because all this time over these months that we've been looking at this, it's been Saul getting stirred up in his feelers.
Yeah.
And getting worried and anxious and all of these things, right?
Right.
And then lashing out because of it. But this time, David kind of gets up in his feelers and gets a little anxious about, Saul's never going to stop. He's just going to keep coming after me as long as I am in Israel, right? And where did he go?
Next door.
To?
The Philistines.
Yes, but he went to Gath.
Yeah.
Right? So what's significant about Gath?
Isn't that where Goliath is from?
That is exactly where Goliath is from.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, you got it. So Goliath is from Gath, and so there's that history there, right?
I don't think
And
I
then
would
also,
do that.
so David gets there and he gets with the king and says, "Hey, let me stay here." And that was all hunky dory. But it wasn't just David and now his two wives, because not only does he not have, so he had a wife that was Saul's daughter,
Right.
but then she got not necessarily she got given to somebody else while he's
Yeah.
in exile, and now he's got two other wives.
Yeah.
Because of a guy that died, and then essentially her home skillet, right?
Right.
So now he has those two wives, but not just that. So it's not just David and his family. It's also 600 other men and their families.
Yeah, his troops.
Right.
Plus families.
Right. So
You're thinking like,
a lot.
let's lowball it with 2,000.
Yeah, so
I'm thinking.
roughly, I'm assuming, because, I would assume that the family size at that point was not small.
Probably not just
they
one.
They were putting out workers, right? Mm-hmm. For the next generation. And
we lowballed it like 2,000. But realistically, a dude, his wife, at least 2 kids.
right.
So let's just on average 2, because some will maybe not have 0 because they're just married, or
Right.
maybe they're Sarah and Abraham, no, they can't yet, and then some are gonna have like 27. So let's just lowball it at 4. That alone is 2,400 people.
So I mean, even though, yeah, you could very easily get up to 2,400.
Well, and then plus David's family.
Right. But I'm just saying, very easily.
That's a lot of people to descend into one town.
Right.
The town of the man that you killed. Hey guys.
Right. That's water under the bridge. That was a while
Knock
ago.
knock.
That was a while ago. It'll be
fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Details, right? And so David says to the king, "Hey, it's not right for me to stay in the royal city. Why don't you give me a place to stay, right? And a place to chill out, not be right in your royal city, because that's such an honor." Do you think he was just saying,
says, if I find favor, though?
right?
Like, hi, I killed like your best fighter. But like, if
That
you
was
don't mind,
decades before.
okay. But I would still be upset.
Okay, but I didn't look into it, but it may not even be the same king. It's been that much time that has passed.
In my head,
It could be a different king.
generations, people are still talking about things.
Just because Saul is the same doesn't mean that their king is the same.
Yeah, because I mean, let's say, I don't know. I mean,
And even if
like
it
even
was,
from president to president,
even if
the
it was,
next generation changes.
what does that king know?
That he's a really good warrior.
More so than that, he knows that Saul is after David.
Well, yeah.
Right? So he knows that David's on the lam and on the run and trying to get away. Right? So,
Maybe
and
enemy
also,
is my enemy is
yes,
a friend.
and also you need to make sure that you're approaching the throne with respect.
Right, no, for sure. He did do
And
a good job of that.
So he is coming to, well, at this point. Anyway,
He asked
so
nicely.
he asked very nicely so that, he's trying to gather what, bees with honey? Is that the way it goes?
I think it says, yes, you gather more bees with honey than you do vinegar.
Right. So
He's trying to honey it.
right, trying to honey it. And
Okay.
so the king says, "Okay, yeah, for sure. You can go down to this town called Ziklag and set up shop there." So he does.
Right.
Now, once he gets to Ziklag, what does he do?
He starts fighting people.
He does. He starts raiding, right? Instead of setting up shop, making, what you call it, an economy out of making goods and things of that nature, he sticks with his warrior roots and goes out and raids people, right? Takes all of their livestock, everything that they have, right? But not only takes all of their livestock and everything that they have, but he also kills everyone.
Every single person.
He kills everyone.
And then takes their stuff.
And then why do you think that he's killing everyone?
So they can't tell on him.
So they can't tell on him. And why is it important that they can't be telling on him?
Because he wasn't fighting where he's telling the king he's fighting.
Right.
We haven't gotten that part yet, though.
So
he starts raiding.
He's raiding. He doesn't really want to tell the king what he's up to, which is, I think, another reason why he wanted out of the royal city, so he couldn't be watched. Because if he was in the royal city, he would have been watched because of all the people, and there would have been a lot of government officials around reporting on him. Oh, did you know this guy went and did this? Type situation.
He's got a sneaky plan.
He's on an outskirt at the bottom of Philistine.
Philistia?
Yes, that one. Philistia. And he is actually going down further south and over onto the Sinai Peninsula, pretty much all the way over to the wilderness of Shur.
Yeah. So if you're... Wait, how are we looking? Here. If you have Israel here, and then you have Philistia here, he's coming... Way. Where am I?
Isn't it?
No. It was Israel here, backwards. Philistia here, and then Egypt is here. And in this that's peninsula... Ooh, sorry for hitting that. In this area here...
Yeah.
That's where he was raiding. I don't even know if you can see my hand. But that's where he was raiding. But the king... He's like, where have you been raiding? What you been doing, bud? And he's like, oh, raiding Israel. For sure. Yeah.
So he actually talks about raiding specific people.
Judah, the southern area of Judah, which is it's kind of parallel to where he was in Israel.
Yeah, it's the southern area of Judah. It's also against the areas of Jerahmeelites and the Kenites, which are all like different people groups from Israel.
Yeah.
Right? But he is actually going against the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites.
Right.
Right? And it's not like Israel has had good run-ins with the Amalekites anyway. They've already fought them a bunch.
Yeah.
But, so it's interesting that he's telling him, hey, I'm actually going against Judah and fighting those people, but he's actually going down and raiding other people.
Yeah.
And, that's very interesting. And... it's almost like a little bit of deception is going on here, right?
I think it is.
Or a lot of it.
A little, yeah. There's definitely a lot of bit of deception.
Right. And you kind of find out that, he's taking all of their goods, he's killing all of the people, right? Because he doesn't want anybody to be left behind to actually go to the king and say, hey, he's actually down here doing the raiding. Because he's trying to dupe the king into believing that he could never go back to Judah.
Right.
Like he's attacking his own people, so therefore he could never go back.
Could never go back to Israel. So come for him.
So therefore he would never be a threat to
the king,
the Philistines.
Right.
Right?
Because he then would have no home. And they're like, oh, okay, well, if you're fighting against your people, yeah, no, you can stay, and I'm not going to worry about you so much. Because it's not like you can just go back.
Right. But that's not what actually was happening, right?
Another plot twist.
Another. He's actually going somewhere else. And then... guess what?
I can't.
You can't?
No, it's been so crazy so far.
Well, you know that this whole time, even before David was a wee lad.
When I was a young warthog. When David was a young warthog.
The Israelites and the Philistines have been smacking each other around in the area for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time for it to start happening again. And since David has been telling the king he's been raiding Judah, he knows what type of warrior David is. He says, hey, guess what? We're going to go fight the Israelites and you're going to join me. He's like, oh, you know what I can do. Yes, I do. So therefore you're coming.
And you're going to be one of my chief guardians.
Yep.
Forever. He lied to the wrong person.
Yep, sure did. And yeah, so with all of this, we know that David is the anointed.
Yes.
The chosen one at this point to be
he's
the
not
king
acting
for
like it.
Israel. No, he's definitely not, right?
This kid has a real hard time acting.
Definitely going against the Ten Commandments for sure.
Yeah. He's definitely not living in his identity.
For sure not. You know, and we could see this all through the previous times where he knows his identity and he is sure about his inheritance and he's acting very confidently. Except for that one time where he acted like a rabid dog at the gate.
Yeah.
Right? He did do that once already.
I guess you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
So, because he was afraid. But so he's doing some pretty crazy things, and it really makes you ask the question: does God approve of his actions, or is he just letting him be a human right now?
Well, it's sin, so God does not approve of it because he does not approve of sin.
Right.
In any instance. So the answer then would have to be that he is letting him run at the end of his leash.
Right.
He's just letting him go wild. He's wilding out for a little bit.
Well, and he's allowing David to act the way he wants to without any current temporal consequences. Right. Meaning consequences here on earth.
Right.
Right. Now, he will have consequences for his actions later, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get there.
He's double agenting right now.
Well, and it seems like he's about to get his comeuppance already.
It feels like they're going to find out tomorrow that he hasn't really been attacking where he said he was. But I don't know. Because we're not there yet.
And, in just looking at this whole section, the 27th chapter of 1 Samuel and the beginning verses of chapter 28, it kind of makes us think of a few key takeaways, right? And that one is, one, your actions matter, right?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Here, he's kind of doing some crazy stuff, and I think he's about to get some hard lessons in doing the right thing even when it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Right? Because Job 4:8 said, paraphrase here, says that those who sow trouble or sow bad things will reap the same.
Yeah.
Right? And that particular verse is in direct correlation to sowing troublesome and stuff and getting punishment from God. But the same thing applies to earthly, like people to people. If you're a troublesome person, if you are causing trouble, if you are doing things wrong, if you're being a not good human, you're going to get repaid for those actions, right?
Right. Whether somebody does it back to you or whether it means like an issue with communicating with that person later.
It could be your job, could be communicating with that person.
There will be consequences.
And the worst of all, it could be not even directly to you, but rather it could affect somebody in your family.
Right.
Right. So that would be absolutely terrible. Right.
Yeah.
And that in the second key takeaway is that in spite of our actions, he died for us. Meaning Jesus.
If I didn't know who he was, like if you were watching somebody in a video just keep loving people who kept looking away, like you would be like, you fool. Know your worth. You're the main character. And yet he was like, no, my dad is. And
no, my dad is.
My dad is. And I am. And it is because we know your worth. And we know our worth that we keep going.
And the verse here that we referenced was Romans 5:6-8. And it says, "For when we were still without strength, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die. Yet perhaps for a good man someone would even dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love toward us, and while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." So even while we were being crazy, Christ still died for us. Well, and at that point, we weren't doing anything crazy.
Right, because we weren't
even
there.
remotely around, right? So, but he did it in advance.
There's nothing
Thank
they were doing
goodness.
that we're doing now that they weren't doing then.
Right.
So,
but
it's not like we've created new things.
No, there's nothing new under the sun. But
Nothing new. So he's already got everything you've done.
But he definitely did it in advance. He wasn't just doing it for those people in previous. Right. He was also doing it for future. Right. And the very last thing that we took away from looking at this, because you can really see David doing this, is he's kind of taken his current position of what maybe God has told him for the future for granted, right?
Right.
And we want to make sure that we don't take grace for granted. We don't want to take the grace that God has given us and shown us by not slapping us around and actually judging us. And we don't want to take that for granted. Right. We want to show thanksgiving for it. We want to make sure that we are doing things that we are doing things that show that we are appreciative of the gift that we are given.
Right.
And the verse for that is Romans 5:20 through 6:4. And that says, "Moreover, the law entered that the offense might abound, but where sin abounded, grace abounded much more. So that as sin reigned in death, even so grace might reign through righteousness to eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? Or do you not know that as many of us as were baptized into Christ Jesus were baptized into his death? Therefore, we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should should walk in newness of life."
Right.
So we shouldn't continue doing the crazy things that would have broken the relationship between us and God that we were doing, because of what he did for us, and we don't have to live in that anymore, right? And that we should walk in the newness of life.
Right.
And that's what we covered.
Yeah, we did.
That's what this week in at Church 520, what we learned, what we covered.
We learned.
But what else did we do?
We sang some games.
We sang some games?
No. We sang some songs, played some games, ate some food.
We did eat some
food.
food.
Hung out together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of food did we have?
I don't even remember.
You don't even remember the goodness of the food?
Oh, chili.
Chili.
My mother made 2 kinds of chili.
Yep. So one of the people that regularly comes, thank you, Pam, made 2 kinds of chili because the wifey was working all weekend and I was preparing stuff. So that was very nice of her to step in and help out and whatnot. So if you liked this little recap.
Well, hold on. If you're in the area.
I was, yep.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, they're going to say like and subscribe.
Yes. I was, but I was also going to,
Oh, continue.
Any hoozles. If you liked this recap, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, like and subscribe because you made it this far. You might as well, I think you got some value out of it. And then if you happen to be in the Lakewood, Washington area or surrounding and would like to come on a Sunday evening, because that's when we meet, go ahead and comment and we will get you that information so that you can come by and be with us, and we would really enjoy that. So thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that didn't work.
What? Wait, is it still playing? Going?
I don't know. It sure is.